Here with Rich Renken at Tyler Guitars. Rich is going to give us a quick tour, and then I might buy something.
Okay, fine. So we bring wood in here, try to have a year's worth, especially the neck wood, so that it can acclimate to California. So the necks are more stable.
What are the main types of wood that you guys use in guitars?
The typical, bolt-on stuff. So it's maple and roasted maple and bird's eye, and we have some Brazilian rosewood, but most of it's Indian rosewood and some ebony. And then the body woods, it's mostly alder, but then we do quite a bit of this wood. It's called mamaiwu. This is actually called jellytong, and it's a wood that was used a lot in molds and stuff back in the day, because like a car company could have a blueprint and then they would do a design, and it's a really tight grain, and it's really easy to sand, so you could sand it into all kinds of weird shapes and then paint it so it looks like a car, so you could get the 3D vibes.
Oh, aerodynamic stuff testing and all of that too. Is that what they did?
Yeah, any of that kind of stuff. And then it was also, you can see some stabs in it. It was they still harvest some stuff for latex, for gum and gloves and whatnot. So it used to be abundant and cheap. And Philip Kubicki, where Jim first bought bodies and necks way back in the day, he wasn't trying to be a builder. He was just like, hey, if I start with a body and a neck, I don't have to strip a guitar all the way down to build it back up. So he started using this wood because Philip Kubicki, I think I have the first guitar he ever did it on. Yeah, he did it, and Jim liked how it sounded. That's what he cared about the most. But it was much cheaper than alder. So some other folks heard that he was using it, and they said, hey, I heard you're using soap wood. It's like, what's up with that? So he came up with Malaysian mystery wood, which is Mamaiwu, Malaysian mystery wood, and called it Mamaiwu. And now people call it that. Officially, yeah. But this is what Landau's first Studio Elite would have been, his second Studio Elite. Bradshaw's guitar, Lukather's guitar most likely was Mamaiwu. I actually don't know because I'd have to get it back to check, but all those first ones were Mamaiwu. So yeah, but then alder and then ash. We're expanding. So when I got here, Jim was doing like 5 guitars a week. I'm doing 16 a week, and we went from like 5 employees to 22 employees. We're bringing basses back this year. So boom, boom, boom.
The big guitar.
The big guitar. It's easier to play. There's only 4 strings. So like if you got a guy who wants to play in the worship band, just let him do bass, because it's fine. And I'm a bass player, so it's easier. That's our chamber.
So are all the Tyler Guitars chambered?
No, just the maple top.
Maple top.
Maple top chamber. That's what it looks like in the maple top. And we'll have a guy who wants it lighter, and he wants it to be chambered. By the way, this is Mamaiwu.
Okay.
He'll want it to be chambered, so we'll just put a plain piece and then cut it and do a Shmear. But then you get the weight, and you get the slightly more acoustic sound. This is just a edge sander, but you put the neck with the fingerboard down, and from here to here it's 10, and that's 12. So that's where the compound radius comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, 10 to 12. Yep.
That's cool.
One thing I get asked all the time is where did Shmears come from? How did Jim think of that?
Finished.
Like, how did that develop? Like, who would think to do something crazy like that? This is like 91, and one of our main clients was one of Jim's good friends, and it's almost weird to call him a client. He was one of Jim's friends that Jim took care of all his guitars. He liked stripping stuff down. Like the Coma guitar was a red guitar, and Jim gave him a vat of acetone. He just stripped it down, and that's why it kind of has that red soaked in, the alder look. It just kind of soaked in, and they were like, that looks great. Let's not even paint it. And so then Mike was trying to go with the one name thing like Cher, and he wanted to call himself Coma, like hire Coma to play on your album or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so he had Coma on it, and then people were writing on it, stickers and all that. So I was sanding a turquoise metallic guitar. So it's turquoise over silver and then wood, right? And seal it. And I was sanding this very guitar, which I was just showing these guys, is in James Taylor live at Squib Knock It on YouTube. but it's this guitar, and I can send you these photos too if you want to. So I was sanding this turquoise guitar, and I was half done, and it was turquoise and silver, and then metallic and wood, all over the whole thing, just those colors. And I went, "Well, Jim, this looks like something Mike would like," And Jim's like, "Well, he's coming in tomorrow. Leave it on your bench." And I left it on my bench, and Mike comes in, and he comes around the corner, and he's like, "What is this?" Ooh. And so Jim and him went in the booth, and they added the black and the red and the purple, and then it sanded again. And you can tell how we do that one. That's just layers. So he played that guitar, and he had a band called Burning Water, and when he was in that band, it switched from a maple neck to rosewood, and he added a full-size humbucker. And then he's like, "Man, Jim, do you think there's something we could do something like this, but more like Burning Water?"
Yeah.
And Jim's like, "Yeah," and he did this first version that I know the guy who has it, the pilot, and I'm gonna get it back from him one day. He's promised to sell it to me when he's ready to sell it, but so Jim did that, and it didn't quite look like Burning Water, and that quest to make it look more like flowing water is basically what birthed the Shmear. And now all of it is just different versions of what we call vomit, which is layers, and the Shmear thing. And so it's either all Shmear or all vomit, or it's a combination of vomit and Shmear, which sounds like a bad Saturday night, but anyway, or one that you should repent from or something. I don't know. But that's kind of where all that craziness came from. And every guitar that's ever been set up, all 8,000 Studio Elites have been set up on this bench.
And this was at Norm's Rare Guitars?
Right after he moved out of Norm's and got his own shop, he built the bench.
He built it, I got you.
So one day this bench will be in the museum,
The Guitar Museum of all time?
Yeah. This box of numbers has punched every serial number into all 8,000 guitars.
So they're all hand punched, every one of them.
Yeah. It's a funny thing too, because you do all this precision work and precision work and precision setup, and then you flip it over, and the last thing you do is go,
hit it with a hammer.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally this. This is what we do. It's like this, and
Bradford found an amp that he wants to own.
Yes.
Is this one of the imports, the JTG?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
The Jim Verse one. The neck is a little too straight, so I'm keeping it around.
Okay. I was gonna say, can we play it?
Yeah.
Can we try it?
Yeah. Grab it.
So how much? What do these run?
Map is $17.99.
So okay, under $2,000 for.
Exactly. Yeah. But more than you would think for a China guitar. But it comes with this case, which is amazing.
Do the imports have all the electronic?
Yeah.
sauce
It's got a mid boost that's slightly different.
Okay.
So like this is you know what? I'm keeping this only because it's the first one. It's the prototype. Doesn't have Dan's signature on it yet.
Oh, okay.
That's a Dann Huff.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Dann Huff. This is all Romance. This works for Dan.
Yeah.
And it works for the Romance. And it has a sound, but there's so many things that Jim improved really quickly after this guitar. I actually put in the case. It's this long of why this. Like the first thing I say is before you take your plastic off, bring this knob up, because if you pull up on this push-pull, that thing will just snap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there's only one company that makes them. And the ones that are in Dan's are a totally different design. They don't even make them anymore. So we use push-pulls now, a lot more solid. But these switches are in a terrible place.
But this is how Dan had his first
Dan,
Strat modded, right?
I said, Dan, I wonder why Jim didn't put him in between like he always did. Did you ask him for a tone? And he goes, I don't remember. I don't really use tone.
Yeah.
But Dan will call this split all the time instead of parallel.
Right. Okay.
But it has neck middle bridge stacks from Duncan, which means then this pickup has to be like almost in the pickguard. But that's the sound. So I'm like, you know what? I gotta do the guitar for the Romance and for the But if you get any Tyler, with some kind of humbuckers, whether it's our canceling coils or stacks or whatever, and series parallel with the preamp. His bypass is right here for the preamp, but this is the preamp. I love that Dan pointed that out in a recent video. He said, so yeah, if you roll that up and thinking that's tone, and you're like, what is happening right now?
I saw that video.
Yeah, that's
to your detriment.
Yeah,
something like that.
I love that he
don't turn it all the way up.
He's honestly one of the best. He's just an amazing cat. Like, yeah, amazing guy. So there's the first 10 Tylers ever built, and by what I mean by that is our headstock Studio Elite with the switching and the preamp and the whole deal, and an actual guitar that was built on Tom Anderson had left Schecter and was building bodies and necks. So these were all, one or two might have been Kubicki parts, but for sure all the necks were built by Anderson.
There's some names there I recognize.
Yeah, so Todd Sharp builds Sharp amps, and but he played with Rod Stewart. Rick Azum played for Pat Boone. Some guy named Robin Ford. Yeah. Some guy. So Tyler, and then Kevin Dukes. That guitar's over here. I'll show it to you in a second. You can put it in as B-roll. And then Bob Bradshaw, that builds all the rigs. And then Steve Lukather's number 8, the puffy guitar that went on Toto, the 7th one. Yeah. And then Landau's first Studio Elite. Obviously, he had already been working with Jim for years, but that's a guitar that was Midnight, and Mike would call it Captain EO. And then that's my guitar player from my band that I moved out here with. Not the one I was telling you about earlier that worked with Dave Jordan, but this is my buddy who now lives East Coast. He's a great guitar player. And Kurt Masteller. And then that's my bass right there.
Oh, nice.
And then Neil Stubenhaus, monster bass player. Alec Milstein played with Dave Kaz and Jeff Lorber, and on and on. So he skipped from 10 to 130, and there's Jeff Lorber. Look him up. Any of these names I know, if you're like, what? I don't know what he's talking about. Just look it up. These guys are all like, it's ridiculous.
Just use the Google machine.
So, yeah. Michael Bolton, that's an amazing story. He couldn't have been kinder. Like, I don't know who hooked him up with Jim, but we left some guitars with him. And then they were like, it's not working out. He's not digging them. Can you come pick them up? So we went down to the rehearsal, and this is when you could rehearse with a band at Paramount on the lot. On a sound stage, with the full rigging and all that stuff. And he saw Jim, or somehow, or maybe he just mentioned to the manager or something, could I talk to him? Because because I can do a lot of things. This isn't just the only thing we do. Those guitars I left, I can match stuff. I can, because that was his whole gig, is serving artists or whatever. So Michael comes down and they're talking, and he's basically trying to say, you know what, thanks for your time, and whatever. And the manager keeps trying to get him back on stage because you're burning money now. And he was just, I'll be right there. And it wasn't like he was trying to figure it out. He was like, I'm going to give this guy my time because he gave me his time. John Pierce, 5-string, he uses that in Toto, but he played for, I didn't even really know this. I've known John a long time, but we lost touch because I went, different companies and came back. And then he hit me up and he's like, hey, can I get this spiffed up for the road? And then I was like, how did I not know you were in Huey Lewis in the News for the last 30 years? I was like, what? That's so funny. Trying to find some more fun stuff there. Yeah, Captain EO. That's what he used to call it. There's like Huff stuff in here, But Huff stuff all came even before those first Studio Elites,
Right.
But yeah, there's the red weapon that actually is in the video. Chrome hardware. You know why there'll never be a Relic Tyler? This is a Relic Tyler. This was played with Billy Joel. Like I was telling you guys, with Kevin Dukes, it's the number 6 Studio Elite ever made. Made in Jim's garage. So this is a Relic Tyler. This is very well played, and then a guy owned it for 30 years. Do you see any chipped off paint?
Yeah, it doesn't. There's no
but if you zoom in, it does have big old where the belt buckle was. So if I was ever going to do anything relic-y, it would be
this is a Tyler thing.
Yeah,
Because the paint job is so good, it's just not.
Well, it's just hard. It's really hard, so it doesn't flake off and crack. Sometimes it cracks. There'll be sometimes cold cracks. This one doesn't have it, but yeah. And this one's in
you're
pretty
not
good
doing
shape.
It like Fender did in the 50s, right?
There'll be some of this old Tylers with this. It's polyurethane or polyester or whatever. it'll get hit and it'll chip off. There'll be a big missing spot.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of these, reveals with colors or whatever. So this is I think this might be the first one we've done like this. We do a gem burst over cherry red, but he wanted it reversed. So instead of the red down here going to the blue like on the traditional gem burst, he went the other way around. So I guess instead of a gem burst, it's a midge burst.
I'm with you.
Midge burst over cherry red Shmear. There was a young guy, Kyle Karich, that was working for Rev.
Yeah.
I met him at NAMM a couple years ago, and he comes up to me and goes, "Oh man, you're a Tyler?" I go, "Yeah," and he goes, "Man, I've had this dream. You think we can make it happen? I want to do like psychedelic vomit, but instead of those colors, I want to do the colors of Miami Vice."
Yeah.
So I found the Pantones, and we did this, and it's called Vice Vomit. I didn't go full Miami Vice because I'm sure nobody would care anywhere, but why bring it on? So Vice Shmear,
Awesome.
and this one just happens to have the full matching neck.
How do you do that on the neck?
Same way, paint it and then sand it back, and
Wow.
it is expensive. I charge for it.
Yeah.
But we still round the edges, and the whole time we're working on it, we round it. So it's.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you feel it, and it doesn't feel like you're grabbing a neck with 4 tons of finish on it. Still feels.
It's still bizarre though.
Yeah.
Because you're playing something that doesn't look like wood.
Oh yeah. Well, I had a dealer. We got I can't remember who. It might have been Lazan, whoever it actually was. I'm sorry if I'm misnaming it. But he's like, "Can we do that, but with the Shmear?" And if you think about it, you can't, because all those colors just run together and become brown.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the Shmear is there's silvers and it's see-through colors, right? It's candy colors. Well, my guy, Tucker, who the Tuckerberry is named after, figured it out. He figured out how to make it flow together and not combine, because it could end up all just kind of like that. So it'll get that way in a few places, but he did a really great job of figuring out how to just kind of make it. And this has become one of our more popular colors. It's so crazy. It's not my thing, but that Recon stone I was telling you about, so you can get like the pink stone. This is actually stones, matching. So it kind of matches the body. That's called the Coma logo, like from Mike's old Coma guitar. And you can keep this on there if you want. I wouldn't have called it Coma had I known they were coming out with a full-on Coma guitar, because those guys are friends of mine. They're like very close friends. Yeah. So I would have come up with some other name like Chaos or something, but it's all good, and we're all family. By the way, we do left-handed guitars, and we do not charge extra.
There you go.
So if you're a lefty always wanting a Tyler, we only do the Pickguard Studio Elite lefty. That's the only stipulation. But so there's left and right. These are going out to Guitar in the UK, so that's kind of fun.
For some reason, I'm attracted to this, and I'm not a pink guy.
It's strange.
Well, there's more than just pink there.
Can you imagine me playing this on stage at church? Just period. Me
With
playing
all
it
of your
periods too
tremolo
much.
tricks.
Yeah,
Yes.
just me playing this, just so I can play. You're
You're missing all the reverb and delay. Yeah.
So that was a Jim Burst over Cherry Red Shmear. This is just a Jim Burst Shmear. So it's the colors of a Jim Burst in a Shmear.
Wow.
And the Jim Burst is just, that's Lukather's guitar had a Jim Burst on it.
Okay.
And so it was a
Is this like Jim's favorite color combo? Is that the...
You know what? He does not remember why he did
Why is
the
it
Jim
called
Burst.
Jim Burst? Yeah.
There's a guy named Dan Sindel.
Okay.
And he had this guitar that had some kind of crazy sort of from here out, like different kind of color. And he thinks he inspired Jim to do it, but Jim couldn't remember. but he did it, and it was always called a Jim Burst. And in fact, somebody had me do a burst with those colors, but a traditional burst. So I was like, what do we call it? Can't call it a Jim Burst. So I'm like, Tyler Burst.
There you go.
Easy. And then we do a whole range of guitars that you get a black Shmear. This is a black Shmear,
Oh, cool.
right?
Yeah.
So it's just a black Shmear. It's just black and silver, right?
Yeah.
So imagine black Shmear, you can paint anything over it, a tint, and the black stays black, but the tint goes to color. You put a silver logo on, paint it to match, and then put stone in that matches that. And we call it the tinted series.
Yeah, that's cool.
When I went to work for Jim in the 80s,
Yeah.
I knew that he knew what he was doing, but I went there because I'm a bass player. So I got to know him more and more. And then, of course, over the years, we did all kinds of stuff together, and we did the Variacs or whatever. When I came back to work for him, some stuff that hit me, and I think it hits you when you get older, you know, different things and timelines and stuff. Basically, Jim would take a guitar, he would take a Strat back in the 70s, and he would first off, he was a certified Fiat, BMW, and Mercedes mechanic.
Oh.
Before that, and he was a photographer, and he wanted to be a rock star.
Okay.
That's how he got started. But he could tinker and he could work on stuff. So he would take a Strat, take out the middle 4 screws, clean up the holes, so it was just 2 screws, like a 2-post bridge. He would take the bridge, which would sit like this. He would flip it over in a vise, and he would drill it all the way through. Anybody, young guys will be like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but like on a vintage Strat, the ball end is right there, and the string goes all the way through and then out. Well, he would drill that all the way to the plate to get rid of that. Yep. And then he would take the tuners, and he would build little spacers so he could get rid of the string tree, and he would lubricate the nut really well. And then he would refret the guitar and crown it. So he would basically make a guitar play in tune.
Right.
So now he was attracting all the session guys. And what were those guys doing in the 70s? They were doing like Steely Dan records and all the, now what people call yacht rock. But it was very clean, pristine, you know, sounds. And it was like, man. So everybody was on a quest to try and figure out how to get rid of noise. So Jim was out at Seymour Duncan's. And like I said, I can send these to you. And because these are on the internet. And this is Seymour's whole shop. There's one pickup winder, and then there's pickups like waiting to be worked on, pickups that are ready to be picked up, and pickups that need to be paid for or something. And that's Jeff Beck's Telecasters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So well, and that's, Jim was a photographer, so he was taking this picture just to capture that, but he ended up capturing Seymour Duncan's shop.
That's cool.
I showed that to Seymour's kid, and he was like tripping out. It was like, you know, because now it's this massive company.
Yeah.
But Seymour was a repair guy like Jim, and they would go to lunch. So Jim was over there waiting for Seymour in the bathroom, and he's looking at these single coils, and he's like, hey, Seymour, what if we take and put all tall magnets in this single coil, and we push the top down and put another top on, and we wind one coil one way and one the other way? What would that be? Would that be a hum-canceling single coil? And Seymour's like, I don't think that'll work, and let's go eat. But then Seymour came out with hot stacks, which are what we put in the Dan Huff original classic. Came out with hot stacks and classic stacks, and then bridge hot stacks, and, you know, and all the stack thing. So that allowed Jim to put them in a guitar and wire them up series parallel, which is a big part of the Tyler sound. And all of that went into a guitar. And then, well, what if you got to do a lead? And now you're, you know, this is like probably 78, you know, 77, 78. Well, what if you got to do a lead? You got to shut 2 switches off and pull the other one up if it's in parallel. So he called a guy named Dan Armstrong that some of you might have heard of that did the Ampeg guitar and all that. Because he lived with a guy, another friend of Jim's named Aspen Pittman of Groove Tubes. But again, these guys were just all dudes living in the valley here. And he's like, Dan, can you come over and I need to, and Dan comes over and he looks at it for a while. He goes, yeah, you need a 4-pull double throw and then wire it this way. And now when it's one way, it's all the switches, and the other way it goes to the bridge pickup and series. And it was like that went into the guitar.
So just straight into your solo tone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then Demeter, James Demeter, so I'll say Demeter because it gets confusing with 2 Jims. Demeter had a noise canceling circuit, and Jim didn't like the noise canceling part, but he liked what the preamp did and what the mid boost did. And then he had Demeter do it to his spec a little bit different, where it pushes the low end. It's like an octave lower. Like Demeter's is like more around 300, Jim's at 150. But the key is the buffered signal that went into the guitar. So then a guy named Dan Smith, who was a bigwig at Fender, but he was just the guy who worked at Fender, he had this guitar. Like, just remind me to send you these.
Yeah.
So he had this guitar he had built at Fender, and if you look, that horn is a little weird.
Yeah.
But this was owned by Andy Brower, Studio Rentals. And I talked to Andy and I showed it to him. He goes, yeah, that's the Billie Jean guitar.
Oh.
So this is the one that went on Billie Jean and Thriller.
Yeah.
And my guess is that they were trying some stuff and it was like, nah, we're not doing that. But hey, this is a cool guitar. Yeah. Give it to Andy. He can rent it to somebody to use to get Strat sounds. So he had Jim modify it, and you can't see it, but it has 3 classic stacks, series parallel switches, no lead rhythm, just the series parallel and the preamp. Yeah. All of that went into this guitar that David Williams called Jim and said, I turned all 3 pickups on, middle pickup in parallel, and I started playing, and we plugged direct into the board, and that's the sound of Billie Jean. And when that album came out, Jim was 31 years old. Huh. In 1982. Yeah. So that tells you how much ahead of the curve he was than everybody else who came and did all kinds of that kind of stuff, right? The key is having the ability to get to the combinations and the preamp, which is a buffered signal. Because I was over at a young guy's house. His name's Daniel McCall. He's in Sidewalk Prophets. He has a Tyler, but I had Dan's 64 modded Strat, and I was running around showing it to a bunch of people because everybody's like, oh my God. I was over at Daniel's, and we plugged in, and I turned Dan's all 3 pickups on, and he has hot stacks and a JB, so not 3 classic stacks. And I turned on the preamp and everything and all that, and he's playing, and it sounds like Billie Jean, but we're going through an amp. And I said, Daniel, we're sitting next to your mic pre and an 1176, because that's what they did. They just jammed straight in. I don't know what preamp and what compressor, but that's all they did. And I said, let's do that. And if you listen, even my stupid camera video now coming into your camera video, familiar. And it's like, it's the comb filtered thing that you don't get without that sort of combination. So
like YouTube's about to claim this video.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too close.
I'm amazed they haven't, because that's from YouTube. But yeah, so that's basically it. Pretty amazing. How the headstock came about was, the first thing is he wanted a nub right here.
Oh yeah.
So it hangs straight. That's it. That's all. So he put a nub, and then back in the day, we didn't have great hangers. There was just wires, and hanging a Telecaster was like taking your life in your own hands. So he wanted it to hang, and he just came around, went up the names, ducked it in, came around. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Not a lot of rocket science, and it's an acquired taste, but once you acquire it, it's hard to unacquire it. So last but not least, when Jim moved into this facility, he realized that the fan, that big apparatus up there, and the permits were the expensive part of a spray booth.
Oh, wow.
So normally you build a little spray booth in a room, and you go in and out of the spray booth into a room. Well, he's like, I'm going to buy a carport. So, you come in, you mix your paints over here, then you shoot it over there.
That's cool.
And then you stick it on the sticks. This rotisserie that you see going right now, that's Shmears and different various and solid guitars. Yeah. When you paint, this is the final coats, but we built this because Gil Vasquez, who works for me, who started Baker Guitars back in the day, he was at Washburn, he was at Fender Custom Shop. I mean, monster guy, been in the industry forever. I met him when he was at Washburn, and we were doing a Variax. I was helping him put Variax guts in a Parker Fly for Adrian Belew. So when he was at Washburn, they had this rotisserie because those guitars were such a weird shape. They had to have the paint flow out really nice, so there's minimal sanding, and so he's like, hey, let's build rotisseries, because when you do the Shmear, it could also all run off. So Tucker would have to come in here and keep turning them. And by the way, this is not out there, and you can put this out there. This is not the secret part.
Okay.
This is fun. Nobody's ever seen this. So
I was going to say, I've never seen this.
Yeah, Gil built this rotisserie because Tucker would have to come in here every 15 minutes and turn all the guitars. Oh, man. And then he's not out here working. So you stick it on the stick, and away it goes. And now we use it for the final coats and everything because it just helps it all flow out, so there's less sanding. It's pretty great. Gil killed it with that. And Gil built all these towers. So we used to just have a solid tower in here, and we had to walk in and out with like this, but he built this tower, and that's on wheels, so you just wheel it out when it's dry. So
You got your hair's blowing in the wind. It's pretty good for
Pretty epic.
pretty good for film. Yeah,
That'll be the opening for the video.
that's right.
Here, let's go fully. So this is a pickup department. I have a couple that come here, and they actually have their own company called Sonic Pickups,
Okay.
and he builds killer stuff. And Andy Hicks, that I was talking about earlier, that's at Fender now, he hooked me up with them, and they started part-time, but they're pretty much full-time and running their own business. And they're just amazing. They wind all of our JTOs and the singles and the supers and all that stuff. And then we use, of course, the Seymour Duncans and stuff. But they wind them all on these pickup winders,
Yeah.
and then assembly and all that stuff. We're going to move them into an office and get them out of the dust environment. It's can wreak a little havoc on pickups. When somebody asks for a loaded pickguarder, they look at our guitar and they think, "Oh yeah, it's a couple of switches, and you can just sell me a switch and I can just throw it in. It's not that big a deal. I mean, why do I got to pay $1,550?" And then you go like this, and you're like, "Oh, maybe that's why."
It's like an amplifier in there.
Right.
Like a tubular.
You have a canceling coil and a 5500 coil. This has no magnetism, so it's like a humbucker. So when I say when this switch is in the position to split, it doesn't mean that it's splitting a humbucker in half. It means it's killing this coil in this case. So it becomes a true single coil. So in one guitar, you can have full-on true single coils and a humbucker, and leave the preamp off and have a very vintagey Hendrix.
When they're not split, do they sound like a single coil, or do they have a different
When they're not split, they get just a little bit darker, but the tone is the same. So same as we were talking about stainless steel frets. Oh, okay,
It's
turn up a little bit of treble on my amp if you want.
Yeah.
But I took this over to Tim Pierce, and he goes, "Dude, I love both sounds.
Yeah.
I need both sounds." But if you're doing especially a church gig or any gig where you're in-ears, here's the thing about quiet tones nowadays. In the olden days, if you had your amp on stage and it's sitting over there and it's buzzing because of your single coil, it's over there.
Yeah.
The singer's over there. Now it's right in
eardrum.
everybody's head. And everybody's looking around like, what is happening right now? Well, David Kim, he got these for exactly that reason.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, it's just a hair darker, but it sounds like a single coil at the neck, not a stack at the neck. So, and they're both great sounds. And when you put them both split and you go to position 4, then it's your real hum canceled that position.
Rich, thank you so much,
Dude.
for showing us around. All the
fun.
stories. I feel like you've probably just
Super fun.
forgotten more rock and roll history than most people ever will learn in their life.
Those were pretty well.
It's fun
pretty
stories
fun
to hear.
tell, but it's pretty fun to also know I lived it. And
You did,
I'm
yeah.
Nothing but, like I said earlier, I'm nothing but thankful.
Yeah.
Standing on the shoulders of a lot of giants,
That's
including
awesome.
Jim Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll put links below if you're interested in a Tyler guitar.
Yeah.
There's dealers. Can people reach out for a custom build?
Yeah.
If they're
I mean, we
interested.
can give them pointers, but
Yeah.
our dealers are great at it.
So they'll
Yeah. Or if you got questions, info at Tyler Guitars, hit us up. anytime.
and also information if you're interested in the JTG, the import line, which is under 2,000.
Yeah. $17.99 map.
$17.99.
Yep.
So all that in
It's
the
not just under 2K. That's a good bit.
no,
Okay.
it's quite a bit under 2K. And
But
that thing
it
was
feels like
pretty
well
awesome.
over 2K.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun to do.
Dude, Rich, thank you.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Thank you, man. Awesome.